Thank you, colleagues, for making time for this information session. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you. This is CHELSA members session. However, we agreed that each library director or each library head can invite one or two more staff members who are relevant to what we're going to be talking about today. In our midst, do we have Professor Elisha Chware?
We do, yes, Chair.
Thank you so much, colleagues. Yes. Maybe just before we start, just to update colleagues that these two projects, that is the CHELSA Statistics Database and the National Repository Project, are one of the projects that CHELSA has been undertaking, and there are other projects, the State of Academic Libraries report, I'm sure you will recall, leadership development, and the CHELSA Academic Library Standards Framework. But for this session, we are going to share information with regards to just the two of these projects, which is the CHELSA National Repository Project and the CHELSA Statistics Database Revamp. Without much ado, colleagues, I think we correcting. Can we quickly check if there are any apologies? Anke, are you noting the attendance?
I am, yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Can we quickly take apologies, colleagues? From EXCO, we would like to apologize for Daisy, the chair. She's out of the country, if I'm correct, Anke?
That's correct, yes, Chair.
Yes, and for today's session, she requested that I chair on her behalf. That's all that I have from my side. Any other thing, Anke, from your side?
Dr. Benny Paladi?
Yes. Colleagues, any other apologies that are worth noting? Remember, it's an information session, it's not a meeting, but it would help to know who has apologized. Okay.
There's a hand, Chair.
You will please help me, Anke, because sometimes. Okay, from Bongi Tuli to everyone. Okay, thank you, Bongi. Bongi is representing Leila. Let me see the chart. Where is the hand, colleagues?
No, Chair, I don't see it anymore.
Okay, it was a legacy hand. Thank you, colleagues. If there are any other apologies, you can put them on the chart. Yes, there are quite a number of charts, messages there, Anke, for noting. Without wasting time, colleagues, I have received an apology once again from Shelin, Dr. Nierputh. She's got an emergency this morning, but there's somebody who's standing in for her. Am I correct, Anke?
Yes, Chair, for the second session, Reggie and members of his team, I know I've seen Sagrin online. I'm not sure if Reggie's joined yet. And Shalene has just asked me at the beginning of that session to give a short background a piece that she has sent through to me in her absence, and she apologizes that she can't attend, but the members of the team are here for the second session.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that input. So, colleagues, we are expecting Professor Chware from CPUT. He is a part of the task team for the statistical database. And we've got Shelin Nierputh from UWC and other colleagues, Raju. I don't see them on the attendance list though, but we are hoping that when we take the second session, then he will be on board. We are going to have a health break after this first session, maybe for 5 minutes or 10, and then we will convene again. Can I now hand over to you, Elisha? Can you please take over the stage?
Yes, okay, yes, thank you very much. I think I'll do that. I've got a PowerPoint presentation and I'm going to share that with you.
Colleagues, we will take questions after the second session, but please note anything that you want to ask from Dr. Shiware, sorry, ma'am. And then we will have questions and answers after the second session. Thank you. Okay, over to you, Elisha.
Okay, thank you, Wetu. Can you see my screen, colleagues?
Yes, definitely we can.
Okay, all right, yeah. So this is just really a follow-up to the proposal that we distributed to CHELSA members. I think earlier on, the last meeting that we had. But I think the point really is that we want to reiterate the need for revamping the existing CHELSA statistics database. I thought I would just start by mentioning things that we already know, that in libraries, we very much use data for management and for advocacy. And we do this through the collection, storage, analysis, and obviously accessing the data on users, on operations, on personnel, on services, as well as our collections. And one of the uses of the data that we collect is obviously to demonstrate value and to document the contributions that we make as libraries to our institutional goals, as well as to demonstrate effectiveness in terms of student success, research outputs, and the many other activities that take place within our universities. And we also do this, I think, in terms of really to leverage ourselves to the ever-changing higher education environment, especially when it comes to the accreditation of programs, the technological innovations that we are witnessing within our libraries and our institutions, and also to be able to provide information for accountability in terms of other measures. I thought then I would move on to the international scene and just reaffirm that what we are doing within CHELSA is not something that is really out of the ordinary. So I thought maybe I'll just cite two examples. The first one is the German National Statistics for Academic Libraries, which has been going on since 1902. And really they collect statistics within academic libraries collaboratively. And some of the purposes really are to enable internal library management, to justify the cost that they, or to justify the request that they make to their own institutions in terms of the budgetary provisions, as well as benchmarking at regional, national, and international levels. So as you can see on the next slide, they've been working on this since 1902. And the other thing, or the other example, is the Council of Australian University Libraries, which also includes New Zealand. They also have a very vibrant statistics services, and it's actually used for cross-institutional benchmarking, as well as supporting libraries to demonstrate value and impact, and also to provide sector-level aggregate data for the profiling of Australian and New Zealand academic libraries. The CAL statistics services include data on collections, on staffing, on expenditure, library services, as well as library clients, and the statistics are produced annually from the data that is provided by the member institutions. And on the next slide, you can also see that collaborative website where members can actually go in and do a number of things in terms of uploading statistics, as well as downloading reports and other information that they might want to use. So coming home, in terms of our own CHELSA statistics database, I think within CHELSA, there's always been the recognition of a common set of standards for qualitative and quantitative assessments of our services. And in 2011, at CPUT, we took the initiative towards building first an in-house database that was around 2012 to 2013. And we saw the value of really extending this database to CHELSA members. Although, of course, the start was not very smooth, but with further inputs from members, we then added further functionalities. And I think the database is now being widely used. We also used the services of an external service provider, and the financial support came from CHELSA to enhance the database. And in 2015, we signed a memorandum of agreement between ourselves and CHELSA. And we basically handed over the database to CHELSA, but we agreed to continue hosting and maintaining the database within CPUT libraries. Now, when it comes to the architecture or the infrastructure of the database, obviously there's the issue of accessibility, and all members of CHELSA can actually access the database. We have also ensured that there's a certain level of security in terms of ensuring that the data is not compromised. And there are also institutional administrators for all members who are participating, and members are able to select other institutions if they wanted to benchmark on certain aspects. And also the institutional data is only accessible to members of a particular institution. And the data is hosted on separate databases for each participating member. And each member has got full control over their data that is residing within that collaborative platform. Some of the issues that are included in terms of the data, as you can see on the screen, is the provision of stock, annual additions to stock, subscriptions to electronic and continuing resources, the number of institutions, the faculties, the branches, the departments, and so on. So there's a whole range or array of data that is collected within this platform. However, over the last maybe 3 or 4 years, we have really realized that the architecture or the technology that the database is using is outdated, and we have written a very comprehensive proposal, which is really what I'm outlining now to CHELSA, that I think we need to bring all the institutions together and really build collaborative teams that should spearhead the redevelopment of the databases, of the statistics database rather. And I think we should really look at some of the measures within the quality in South African higher education libraries document, so that we can align this with the CHELSA academic library standards framework, so that we can then use that aligned information to further develop our database. And I think the issue of the costing model in terms of how we are going to do this can also be determined by all members. So what we are proposing is that we should basically have 4 teams that should look at different aspects. One, the first team should look at the technological infrastructure, and the second team should look at the data analytics, and another team or 2 teams, or combined in one, could look at the issues of marketing and training. And then when we're making this proposal, I think really the outcomes, the envisaged outcomes are that an expanded set of services and functionalities related to library analytics that will better serve members should be one of the outcomes, and also the question of increased capacity to deliver insights from the data that we collect, and also the improved user experience for users, and improved quality of analytics leading to more useful reports and management information that we all need in our libraries to demonstrate value, and also to make those painful arguments to our executives when we are requesting for resources. Each and every year, we all go through these painful exercises, really, where we have to justify why we need further resources in order to continue supporting the teaching, learning, and research programs within our universities. So if I go to the first one, the technological infrastructure task team, and our proposal is that it should be made up of the IT and statistics experts within the community. And some of the goals really is to work on modern, scalable, and interoperable analytics platform to support collection and the management of the CHELSA statistics and analytics. Obviously, one of the big questions that comes to the fore is the question of our own library management systems. I think over the last 5 or 10 years, we've all migrated to new platforms that are very efficient in terms of collecting statistics and so on. And one would want to ask why them join the CHELSA statistics database. Obviously, we have really articulated the reasons for having a collaborative approach in terms of collecting this type of data. So we would then want to talk about the issue of interoperability to see how our own individual systems within our own libraries can feed into a common database. And we hope that our IT and statistics experts can really lead us to some solutions. The other issues in terms of this group is also to develop procedures and documentation to support the use of the database, and also to develop a platform with an API, to interface with other external platforms like Microsoft Power Business Information for advanced statistical analysis and reporting, and also the platform to have a platform that can be used to collect data about the usage of various infrastructure within our library spaces, and also to have a platform for the importation of data from other existing platforms in use at member institutions. That's what I was talking about earlier on in terms of our own library management systems, as well as to provide user-friendly reports that are easy to extract and which are also mobile-friendly, and to determine the need for an external developer to be contracted, that is, if that is required, and also to develop the specifications and to oversee the implementation of the new revamped platform. And then when it comes to the analytics and data task teams, really there is need to determine the following. First, there's really a need for a need analysis to determine members' needs of analytics products, the current levels of uptake of the existing database, how many of us are using it, and is there still a need to go that route, and also the type of data that can be recorded and the levels of interpretation being done to the current data and whether this should be improved, and also the use of recorded statistics both internally and externally, and to determine the need for and feasibility of producing new sector level analytics products. For example, annual surveys, trend analysis, and so on. I think we have seen the very first report, the State of Academic Libraries in South Africa, and I think the second one should really make use of some of the data that we are collecting collaboratively and really enhance the outlook of that second report, and we can only do this collaboratively. And we see the task team being made of staff who are involved in the collection of statistics, and also staff who are responsible for the quality assurance activities, including evidence-based practice and planning. within our libraries. And then the last group, this could be a combined, or it could be separated in terms of training and marketing. And the role of these could be to facilitate the marketing and training of new platforms to all participating institutions through advocacy regarding the purpose and value of contributing to a national statistics database, and also to coordinate and provide assistance with the setup and the configuration of the platform, and to provide technical advice and guidance, and to identify collaborators for the delivery of training, and also to organize training sessions across the sector, and also to monitor and evaluate post-installation performance of the platform, and also to provide post-installation support. So in a nutshell, that's what we have in terms of our proposal, to have the existing CHELSA database, I think, redeveloped, so that I think we can meet what can I say, the changing environment, because I think it has been quite a while since the initial database was developed in 2013. They certainly need to relook at how it operates and how we can further improve the question of extracting information for benchmarking and for our own individual use within our own institutions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Elisha. Thank you so much for that comprehensive presentation. Colleagues, I've noted a few things as Dr. Shuari was presenting. He is bringing a proposal to us to revamp the current CHELSA statistics database and align it with the measures for quality in South African higher education libraries, as well as the academic library standards framework. And he went further to propose task teams, 3 or 4, and the outcomes are outlined as well. Now, let us quickly look at the chart. I think there is something on the chart. I assumed that this presentation might be longer, colleagues. Hence, I thought we can allow the second session. But I think given the time, we can take the questions and take a short break after those questions. I don't know if there's a dissenting voice, please raise your hand. But I think we are still within the time. We can take the questions, and we can then, after the questions and the answers, we can take the short break. There is a comment on the chart, colleagues, from Wynand van der Walt. Would it not be more feasible to use any funding available to collaborate with and enhance third-party software? I'm specifically thinking of the already well-developed and really functional Leap Insight. And also, if we are currently considering subscribing to Leap Insight, it is advised that we do not subscribe pending the outcomes of the proposed CHELSA development. That is a view, colleagues, that there's a software, the Leap Insight, that can do this work much better. But if there is any revamp or new proposals, maybe we can just hold on from that. Can I now take questions, colleagues? Any questions for Dr. Chouari? Also, we acknowledge the other vibrant group that is in our midst today. This is the voluntary group that is led by colleagues from UJ, Nomoya, and Happy. So we expect a lot of inputs that will be coming from the colleagues, especially that group. Colleagues, there we are. Anyone who would like to go first? The report, the status of the stats database has been given. Some proposals have been put forward. Any questions for clarity? Anke, please help me if you see a hand.
I'll do so, Chair.
Thank you. Perhaps I could just ask the other colleagues who've been practitioners, the voluntary group that is led by Nomoya and Happy and the rest, maybe just to share what would be the contradictions, if there are any, to what has been presented to us, in case we leave out something so important. Is that okay, Nomoya? Are we still together? I'm cognizant of the connectivity problems. This side, I'm using a generator, and at any time I can be cut off and come back again. Can we get views from the other colleagues? Okay, if the voluntary statistics group doesn't have it, okay, Happy, there's a hand there, and Tabiseng. Happy, then Tabiseng in that order. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Happy Mphahlele, and I am based at the University of Johannesburg Library. Just a minute, sorry about that.
Yes.
Can I go, Chair, because I'm about to leave?
Okay, okay, so Tabi, you would like to go first? Sorry, Happy. Okay, Tabi.
Good morning, colleagues. Just a question to Dr. Chiwari. I just want to find out, I don't think we have done enough marketing regarding this database, because I don't know how frequent it is used and how the process of contributing towards it, because I know with my institution, I don't remember us contributing towards this database. So I just wanted to know if we have done enough marketing in terms of all institutions contributing towards the database, and maybe in future, as we are looking at revamping it, maybe that side of things needs to be improved. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Tabi. Would you like to come in, Elisha?
Yes, certainly. I think really the issue of marketing, maybe, I don't know if I'm going to be a little bit crude in terms of responding. All library directors are supposed to be aware of this database. The discussions have been at CHELSA level. And what we expect is that each individual library director, after our discussions, they then take this initiative back to their own constituencies and really either contact us as the, can I say, the custodians of the database. We had somebody who was so vibrant, who we even allowed her to travel to various universities to go and assist them with the setup. She's just retired, but we are in the process of hiring a new person to take over that responsibility. And we have done so many workshops previously, I think, around this database, just to make sure that people who need our assistance, we are there. And we've been doing this free of charge as CPUT, because we wanted really to ensure that there is really a higher level of uptake within the sector. So yes, we have been doing that. Unfortunately, within the other institutions, maybe there was a little bit of resistance, or some people did not see value, and they never really scaled it down to their own environment. That would be my response.
Thanks, Elisha. I think I agree with you. The onus was for the directors to cascade it down to their constituencies, and that might never happened in other institutions. But I take what you're saying. Thank you so much for that response.
Yes, and also just in addition, I see somebody is asking what is the uptake. We have actually written an article which is in Sagilis on the uptake. And currently, I think we have got about 18 members out of the 26 institutions. So that's really a high uptake.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Elisha, and thank you, Tabi. There's another hand from Karin. Oh, there's...
Yes, I just want to add also to what was said about the CHELSA, the database that CP2 is hosting. I'm looking at it, and in the beginning, most of the universities did add stuff, and then it slowly started dwindling down, and this year, for 2021, only 2 universities added information. So it started well, and then it slowly just sort of disappeared. So, but we had training and everything so it just needs to be revamped, I agree, because there are some things in there that does not necessarily mean it wants to be reported on. It needs to be reported on.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you. Lindy, we're then happy in that order.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And thank you very much, Elisha, for the presentation. Colleagues from the University of Pretoria, we have been contributing for some time, but we're asking ourselves, what's the value proposition? You know, we've been doing that, but we're not sure what benefits we're getting out of it. So going forward, we really would want to be convinced of the value. So maybe Elisha can just maybe highlight the value. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindy. Where maybe you take Happy and then allow Dr. Chouari. Happy.
Good morning, colleagues. I just want to also touch on the issue of the database. And as you have said, Chair, that we do have a voluntary group that is looking at statistics. Just to say that we also had a conversation around the CHELSA database, and our concerns is what other colleagues have already raised in terms of the benefit, in terms of this being a mandatory database, or is it compulsory? In terms of saying who are actually active participants in this and who is monitoring the database. And those are the questions that we've been trying to get the response on. And with regard to the group, really is just to say we are not contradicting with the CHELSA database. We are actually a group of voluntary academic librarians who are getting together to have an understanding and share knowledge on the statistics collection and analysis. And I believe that we are a group that may help in the contribution of getting this database to work. And I'm also agreeing with the issue of having task teams that will look at those different aspects. So that is my contribution to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Happy. I think we should also take the chart there, and then we can, there's something from Veliswa Checha. Thank you very much, Dr. Chouari, for the presentation. I have also noted the suggestion from Vaynant. My question to Doc and Vaynant is, if we are to compare the two in terms of time, resources, and cost to revamp the existing database versus subscription to Leap Insight, which of the two will CHELSA consider? That's a question, colleagues. Dr. Chouari, do you want to come in?
Yes, certainly, certainly. So maybe the vocabulary is a little bit, we are not quite in sync with what we are talking about. First and foremost, a revamp will be determined by the needs analysis that I talked about earlier on. I think that's really the first, the starting point. Also trying to respond to what my colleague from UP was saying, what is the value proposition? I think the value proposition is within us, and we have to articulate it ourselves. And that's why I was highlighting at the very beginning, in terms of international trends, that it's really common practice in many countries. It's just like the national statistics, Stats SA, the census, and so on. the data that they collect on education and many other aspects? What's the value of really documenting the number of primary schools or whatever in the country and so on? So I think there's value. There's value in terms of us using the data to benchmark amongst ourselves, to demonstrate value, to be able to add this data collaboratively in our annual, is it biannual, that document that we've just produced, the trends in academic libraries in South Africa and so on. But we are hoping that the group that will do the needs analysis will really be able to demonstrate value, or if there is no value, then we might as well take and go and stop the whole process. My other suggestion, I think, Chair, is to take the issue back to the CHELSA general meeting. And my proposal will be that instead of wasting resources, why don't we use the current that non-formal interest group to spearhead some of the things that we want to be done? I think that will really be the best approach. And my recommendation is really that let's get the practitioners, not the library directors, to do the work, and they can then report back to us to say, here's the value, or there's no need for us as a sector to continue doing this particular exercise. And then from there, we can then probably set up the other subsequent groups. But let's have an initial assessment to really say, what is it that we want? The question of whether we revamp or we go the subscription route will also be determined by that needs analysis. And some of us really, we are prepared really to assist in terms of shaping the tools that might go out to the membership in terms of determining where we want to go. And the other thing is that it is not really compulsory. But I think this is really, as CHELSA, we have never really had any projects that we say are compulsory, but it's really something that we take as a common good among us as members of one sector that has got, I think, one end goal in terms of supporting higher education within the country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. I think, colleagues, we are sort of winding this discussion. We sort of in agreement that there will be this initial assessment, which will lead to articulation of the value proposition. And then on the table again, we've got an idea to revamp and to introduce some software, which is Leap Insights. The third one that I've noted is the fact that we already have this volunteer group. Perhaps we need to engage that group and put them at the forefront of these activities, and then they will be reporting to CHELSA. I'm not sure if I'm capturing everything correctly, but I think roughly that's what we've been just saying now. I see one hand from Zanele. Zanele?
Thank you so much, Chair. Thanks to Prof. Chiware for the presentation. It's not necessarily a question, but a comment. And I would like to commend Prof. Chiware for
I think I'm losing you guys. My network is extremely unstable.
Yeah, we can hear you, but she disappeared.
I think Zanele had a problem on her side. Hopefully she will come back online again.
Yeah, we lost her for a few minutes, a few seconds, sorry. Did you manage to grasp what she was saying, Anki?
No, no, Chair, perhaps we should wait.
Okay. Yeah, the connectivity is not stable at all. Thanks, colleagues. I think we are moving towards the same direction here. We agree that we need to do the initial assessment. I think what Dr. Chiware has done was to propose 3 task teams. And maybe now is for us to look at these task teams and see if there's no other task team that we want to add. The first task team is the technological infrastructure, which must be made up of IT and stats people. And then there's data analytics. Then there's a marketing and training team. Am I capturing the three teams well, Elisha?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct, certainly, yes. Mm-hmm.
And our way forward will be to start with the...
Sorry, Chair, I'm back. Sorry, apologies for that.
Is that Zanele?
Yes, it is, Chair.
Yes, it is, and I'm on the phone now.
Okay.
Sorry, we just had load shedding.
Yeah, I asked this side as well.
So I was just, I was just saying that I commend Professor Chiwari for the work that has been done and the proposal to revamp the stats database. And I think this has come at the right time. I mean, we are in the global economy, and Professor Chiwari has been very proactive in terms of aligning what we do in libraries with the economic models that are being applied now. So we are in the sharing economy. We have to make sure that we share the statistics or the resources that are in our institution and make sure that it is visible across everybody. So I wouldn't suggest that we even think of not going forward with the projects. That should be off the tables, in my view. And I support that we all take a move towards it. We have not submitted anything at UMP because we are a new institution, but we'll be starting to submit, and we would like to participate in the activities that will be done. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you so much, colleagues. I think, colleagues, we are in agreement that time has lapsed since 2013 when the database was put together and was implemented. And now it's time to revamp. And we have already proposed 3 task teams. And I think the first task team to act on this would, am I correct, Elisha?
Sorry, we lost you a little bit. You said can you repeat that again?
Yes, I'm saying as a way forward, we want to form the task teams now. I don't know if we want to do that today or we want to give the institutions a time to delegate colleagues to these task teams, but we are in agreement that we want 3 task teams. We want the infrastructure task team, we want the data analytics, and we want a marketing and training, which I think might come even later, that one. So the first thing to do from now, I think, is for the institutions to go back and to delegate the people who are in the IT and the stats portfolios, and to report those or to submit those names to the CHELSA program project manager. And I would still love that, Prof, you are sort of part of this team, and any other body else and any other director who was working, who's been working actively in this CHELSA stats database. So can we agree on the fact that institutions will go back home and delegate how many people, 1 or 2, one from the IT division and one from the stats division? Is that what we agreeing on? Anke, your hand is up.
Thank you, Chair. I had a thought possibly regarding a way forward in terms of establishing formal task teams, for instance, on the technical task team at this point. Would it not perhaps make more sense to undertake the needs analysis first? And see what the needs are, whether we're likely to go with a third-party route, and so on, because that might feed into the terms of reference for a technical task team and so on moving forward. I just thought perhaps as an initial step, perhaps the needs analysis might feed into the establishment of the task teams. Just a suggestion for consideration.
Thank you so much, Anke. That's definitely giving some form of trajectory in this. Yes, I think the needs analysis, the results or the report from the needs analysis will definitely inform the other task teams. So colleagues, are we in agreement that we prioritize the needs analysis task team? I think we are in agreement. And how would you like to constitute this team? Do we want a representative from each institution, or we leave it to the library directors to decide? But you can give us a clue of the caliber, the type of people you would like to partake in the needs analysis.
Chair, can I come in?
Yes, please, Elisha.
Yes, my suggestion would be that the current informal statistics, is it interest group?
Yes.
Could possibly form the core of the needs analysis team. And if there are any other additions from other institutions, then the project manager can coordinate that. And then if you want me to come in terms of really giving guidance in terms of how we should conduct the needs analysis, I'm very much prepared to do that. But we can decide that maybe not more than 10 or 12 people could quickly then go onto the ground and do the needs analysis. And then we give ourselves timelines in terms of delivery of the report, and then we take it forward from there.
Thank you so much, Elisha. Colleagues, is there anybody who's supporting this proposal that we engage the existing informal or voluntary interest group? My only question there would be whether this group is well represented, so that at least even if there's the core, which could be just 10, but there is a reporting structure that accommodates all institutions in a way, you know, from that group. Chair, should we not have a single task team to undertake the needs analysis first? Yes, I think that's what we are agreeing on, that let's have a needs analysis task team first. And with the existing informal structure has been suggested, and I was checking if there's any dissenting view, and Dr. Chiwari being sort of the overseer in terms of the needs analysis strategy and all that. Any dissenting view, colleagues?
So, Chair, the proposal was that they form the core, but we call for other participants from other institutions that are not currently in the core group, so that we have an expanded team.
Yes, there's a core and then there's an expanded team. I really don't want to make a big team here, Elisha, because sometimes many people, you know, too many cooks spoil the rock. But anyway, there can be a core, then there's an expanded team that includes other institutions. I think we are in agreement with that.
Okay, sorry. Can I just come in again?
Yes,
so what
please.
I'm saying, yeah. So what I'm saying is that if the core is made up of let's say 10, we make a call to add more members to that core group, so that we then have an expanded group, not 2 but 1.
Yes, just 1 expanded group. Okay, thanks, Elisha. Happy, your hand was up. Is it a legacy hand?
This way too, I just wanted to say to the team that in our voluntary team, so far, there are 13 universities that are represented.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. But we will allow the core team to meet with Prof. Chiwari, and then you will co-opt for the expanded team or the extended team. So we sort of wind it down that way. Are we in agreement, colleagues? Can we close this matter and take a health break for 5 minutes and reconvene? There's a yes that I can see there. And I think this is unanimous. Thank you so much, colleagues. We take exactly, it's 11:19 now. Let's be back at 11:25. 6 minutes. Thank you. Your hand. Yes, colleagues, I think we should resume our session. Is everybody back? Or at least the majority? Whilst we are waiting for the confirmation, can we allow Bonga Mahwede? Bonga, do you want to come in so long? Or maybe it was an old hand. Can I get an indication that people are
Can you hear me too?
No, I can't. I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. My connection is very poor.
Yes, all of us, dear.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
Bonga.
you. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Elisha, for the insightful presentation. And Nelson Mandela University also contributed to this database, and we are looking forward to the revamp, as we have discussed during this session. It's just a proposal to make if Anke would perhaps share the outcomes of this first session so that we can be able to share with the colleagues with all the way forward that way to actually summarize at the end of the session. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Bonga. I'm sure Anke is noting the session is being recorded, so she'll be able to circulate the outcomes or the proposals to
And
all.
if Dr. Chiwari wouldn't mind maybe to share his presentation.
That's a plea, Dr. Prof. I don't think he would mind.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bonga. Nomoya?
Thank you so much, Nomawetu, and good morning, colleagues. Nomawetu, Chair, I apologize. I came in a bit late. I had to attend to something urgent. I also realized that the point around the CHELSA statistics database has been closed. But I just want to say one thing, Chair, with your permission.
Yes, permitted, Nomoya.
Thank you, Chair. One thing that bothers me a little is that I heard from Dr. Elisha that, CHELSA does not, this is a voluntary thing. Nobody is forced to do anything. I get that. But I think as CHELSA, and I'm not a CHELSA member, so I'm saying this with respect, due respect to CHELSA, is that CHELSA is there to lead us, and I think, at some point, CHELSA must tell us what is the direction, and we need to follow, because we need this leadership role. CHELSA is there for a purpose. And so the initiative from Dr. Elisha is appreciated, and CHELSA need to say, this is the way we need to be going, because CHELSA is actually a group of library directors. They have all the rights to say, this is where we want to go, and filter that into the institution so that this becomes an adopted responsibility of each and every university to follow. Because unless that is done, colleagues, I do not see us succeeding in having a consolidated and concise and well-focused direction around data collection and analysis, and ending up really with a data warehouse as a country. It really has to start with CHELSA really putting your foot down and say, as leaders of the libraries, this is where, with our knowledge and the power vested in us, this is the direction that our libraries need to take. And I think the whole conversation has to start there. I don't think that, for us to agree by saying, oh, well, let's have this group, let this group voluntarily decide, come together, maybe let's have this interest group that is now here, kind of work on this. This group has no power to really, the group came together out of interest. It's a community of interest, of practice group, right? Voluntary, it doesn't have no power of sort. but CHELSA has to say this needs to be done. The University of Johannesburg Library has to kind of, to use the crude language, toe the line and work according to what has been agreed upon by CHELSA. And the question is, what is it that CHELSA wants us to do? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nomoya. What you have raised is so critical in this discussion. However, I think what CHELSA, because remember, this is a CHELSA meeting or session, and the fact that the university heads of libraries are here and they are taking this decision, it means it has a backing of CHELSA. But I definitely hear everything that you have said, and it makes a lot of sense. What I think Nomoya wants to say is that be they a vibrant and passionate group. However, they are not in a position to articulate on the metrics that the libraries need in order to gather statistics, because when the institutional audits come, when we have to do our self-evaluation reports, we are called upon to come with the metrics against which will be measured as libraries. And that information can come from the heads of libraries. So what I'm saying is, what Nomoya is saying is valid, but we are now as CHELSA endorsing and embracing this group. We are now adopting this group. You know, but I hear what you are saying, that this group still needs leadership. There's a two hands, Zenzile, Nomoya, that's your legacy hand now. Zenzile, and then I would ask Dr. Shirwali just to come in after Zenzile.
Good morning, colleagues. I just wanted to add on what Nomoya was saying. But with the view that CHELSA at this stage, I think, cannot enforce the universities to add data on the database when we do not see the value of it. I think the route of firstly identifying what needs to be measured, and then everyone understanding what the value is, and then collecting and recording on the right metrics. Then if everyone understands the value, I don't think there will be resistance in terms of adding statistics, because we will be getting something from it. But at this stage, we are recording data that we do not see the value of. And if we were to be forced to do that, then that's going to be a problem.
I understand that very well, colleagues. I think it's loud and clear. I just want to quickly check on the oh, Professor Chiwari is no longer with us. Okay. Anybody who would like to come in, and then I would
Chair,
okay,
my hand is up.
Okay.
Just to close this from my side. Chair, the group, the community of practice group has went to an extent of putting together terms of reference, right? And in there, it clearly stipulates what is the rationale really for, firstly, for the group coming together, but what are the objectives that the group wants to achieve? And the objectives are really around the reasons. Why do we have to collect library statistics? What would be the use of this and all of that? We, from University of Johannesburg, because we are coordinating this group, we have just sent out the terms of reference. I think it will be good also for CHELSA to have a look at that, because those terms of reference agreed upon by 13 universities actually give an overview of why is statistics and data analytics important in a sense, and what would form objectives of such. And I think then what we could do is to fit in to that overview that we already have agreed upon by, more than half of the universities in South Africa. We can feed into that now the nitty-gritties in terms of these task teams and how they are going to meet the overall purpose of universities coming together to share data and to end up with a data warehouse kind of situation, you know. And this is actually, I must say, something that is overdue, very overdue, and it is a bit also, you know, this conversation today, Chair, tells us that this is rather urgent, in the sense that a lot of colleagues are still talking about, you know, not being sure what metrics should be, you know, collected and so on and focused on. And by now, we should all be kind of clear on what it is that is important for libraries, academic libraries. And if we know that, really what Dr. Shiwara is trying to do is to say, let's bring all this together and have a look. Firstly, what are we collecting commonly amongst each other? I mean, that's a good start. I mean, when we do data, I mean, the needs analysis, we could just start there because we are all collecting. So why don't we all bring what we are collecting and somebody just go through and have a look what is common and what is not common, and how do we sort of reach common grounds? As I think it's as simple as that. But yes, I think I've said enough, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Nomoya. Thank you, colleagues. I think we're still in sync with this discussion, because we agree that this group that has been informally formed will be strengthened, and Dr. Shirwali will lead this group in terms of representing CHELSA. And I think CHELSA, on CHELSA's side, CHELSA has got a meeting on the 3rd of October, and the report from this session will be given to that meeting. And I think these questions of which metrics would come up, but I think for now, I think it's suffice to say, let us leave this group with the expansion or the expanded membership, and then let us leave it in the capable hands of Prof. Shiwari, and then after the meeting of the 3rd of October, we will be able to look at those terms of reference. I wish, Nomoya, you can, you know, send the terms of reference to ANCAP, because it will be a starting step for us. And after the OGM, definitely CHELSA will be giving some points towards what needs to be done. But I think what we are trying to achieve here is to say, let the statistic voluntary group work with CHELSA. I think that's what we are agreeing upon. So yeah, colleagues, I think if there's no other input, thank you so much. Thanks to Elisha in absentia, and thanks to everybody. This was a vibrant discussion, and we will not let you down. We will definitely move and run with the CHELSA statistics database until it is a final product and it is implemented. So with those few words, we are closing this first session, and without much ado, let us call upon the second session, which is on the NETD, the NETD project. We're having Dr. Raju and Sherlyn. I don't know who else, but Sherlyn has apologized for today. Reggie, are you ready? Or should I be looking at somebody else? Over to you. Yes, Anke?
Sorry, Chair, Reggie is waiting for us. Reggie, Charlene had sent a short history background through about the session, and as she had apologized. Would you like me to share that with the members now?
Please, Anka, that would be great.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. So just on behalf of Dr. Shalene Neerputh, who's been leading this project on behalf of CHELSA, working very closely with Reggie and his team, she just sent a brief message through. I'm sorry that I cannot be with you today as I have to attend to a family emergency. The story of the CHELSA National Repository began in 2019 when Sabinet offered to take over the NRF-hosted ETD database, which had subsequently not been updated for a few years due to the NRF reviewing their mandate. CHELSA objected to the Sabinet proposal, which was tabled to USAF, as members expressed concern and unhappiness. This database emanated from institutional research content hosting, institutional costing and capacity, with a focus on CHELSA to lead and undertake such project. In August 2020, CHELSA also sanctioned this project to support the establishment of a national ETD research repository for South Africa, also benchmarking with international standards, with leverage to move towards an African continental repository to promote research discoverability and open access. A core lead team comprising of the then chair of CHELSA, Shirlene Neputh, Dr. Reggie Raju, Mr. Sagran Mudley, and Ms. Jill Claassen was set up to provide direction and enlist inclusive participation of all institutions. Almost all members cooperated and provided institutional nominees to serve on this project. We are thankful for the participants, and a process ensued thus forth under the astute leadership of Dr. Reggie Raju and team. I am pleased to report that this team is committed to this process, and Dr. Raju will present CHELSA members with an update of the NETD repository further. May I please hand over to Dr. Raju and thank the team for their time and dedication. I wish to add that these presentations will also be shared at the upcoming LIASA conference as an information sharing session to the entire LIS sector. Best wishes for an engaging session today. Take care, colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anke, and you will convey our thanks to Dr. Neerput. Colleagues, there's a very short report introductory to the task team presentation.
Do I now?
It has been noted. Then I think if there are any questions for that introductory remark, then we can allow Dr.
Hi. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen. Thanks, Doc.
Okay, I'm just trying to get to my first slide. Yeah. I'm assuming that that is visible to you.
It's visible from my side, Reggie.
Okay. Right. Thanks, Anke, and thanks in absentia to Shirlene for introducing for that introduction. As indicated by Anke, there was a request from the directors for more information, and I'm making the assumption that the concept document and those high-level documents have been shared with the directors. I do apologize if that hasn't filtered down to the colleagues that are in this particular meeting. Be that as it may, I am not going to regurgitate or repeat that which is in the concept document that was shared with you by Anke. And as I said, I'm making the assumption that that has then devolved down to the colleagues that are in this particular session. What I'm going to do is share the goals of the project and to locate these goals within the project. I would also spend some time talking about the sub-project teams, which seemed to be a fairly long discussion in the previous session. And as you could see, each one of the members of the Oversight Committee have distinct roles. I am viewing the project through a strategy lens. Dr. Neerput is the bridge between the project and CHELSA. And then Jill has knowledge about metadata, and Sagan is familiar with technical issues as it relates to repositories. So I'm going to start with briefly giving you some context to this particular process, but again, it's going to be very superficial because much of this is already contained in the concept document. All of us may be aware that South African higher education institutions in the main have institutional repositories. The primary content in these repositories are research outputs, and more often than not, we're talking about research articles and such, and then we're looking at theses and dissertations. Despite the perceived good status of South African institutional repositories, the visibility, discoverability, and accessibility of that research, and here I'm including the theses and dissertations, is a major challenge. A scan of the literature shows that there are a number of factors that contribute to the diminished visibility, discoverability, and accessibility. And these would include, amongst others, inadequate metadata, low levels of interoperability, and harvesting challenge. To address these challenges, each institution is working independently at significant human and financial resources. However, only a small number of institutions have such human resource and financial capacity to address commensurate challenges. In essence, there is a continuous process of reinventing the wheel without sharing solutions. At the end of the day, those institutions that have the capacity are moving ahead, exacerbating the gap between institutions. So what we've done is we've looked at developing this repository, this national repository, within 4 specific goals. The first goal emanates from bridging this divide. The first of the strategic goals is to ensure that no institution is left behind in sharing South Africa's theses and dissertations research project. This is also, this whole concept of not leaving people behind is also in keeping with SANDLEC's negotiating guidelines. We are looking at projects that are driven by social justice agenda. The open sharing of research output talks to this social justice imperative. It is common practice for PhD dissertations to be original pieces of research. Hence, the empirical data and commensurate findings are critical to addressing local challenges, regional challenges, South African challenges. This underpins the critical need for this research to be easily and freely accessible by all. The fact that these theses and dissertations are sparingly indexed in major databases underscores the desperate need to make the research more discoverable and accessible. It must be noted that the content here is that of the next generation of researchers. Hence, it is critical to ensure that the discoverability is enhanced as they will support, there will be the support for the next generation of researchers. Given we are actually giving them the levels of exposure that would be the first steps in terms of supporting their research trajectory. The second strategic goal is to provide a single point of access to South Africa's thesis and dissertations. And we hope in the long term, it will be South Africa's research output. We hold the view that a central repository will have significant positive impact on the South African higher education environment. A single point of search will aid in the identification of areas of research and/or expansion on current research. Prospective students would be able to search one platform as opposed to a plethora of platforms for varying degrees of discoverability. It is also significant, it will also be a significant benefit to international students who search for supervisors and/or institutions to complete senior degrees. So what we would be doing is showcasing South African research so that we can lure international students to the country. So by default, we are promoting not only our institutions, but also the country and the country's output. By the same token, academics will also benefit from having one repository for reviewing the contributions of researchers. And here I'm going to focus on just one element, and that is the NRF ratings. The fact that there is the 1 point of search will enhance the research rating process, and also for people that are wanting, who are making grant applications. Reviewers and evaluators, whether it's an NRF application or a grant application, need only go to one platform, especially if the academic has moved from one institution or has collaborated with other institutions. Okay, so the third strategic goal is to improve discoverability and accessibility of South African research output. Stating that the improved discoverability will result in improved visibility is basically stating the obvious, but it is critical but it is a critical issue in making research more accessible to a much broader audience. With improved visibility, the scholarship is not only accessible to fellow Africans, but also to the rest of the global South and the global North. When we talk about discoverability, we're talking about what is the core in terms of sharing. And that is the metadata and the interoperability standards and applications. There is sufficient evidence in the literature that shows that inadequate metadata and interoperability standards exacerbates the already poor indexing of African content, making discoverability and visibility much more of a challenge. It's unfortunate, but Africa has further barriers to overcome to make our scholarship accessible and visible to the wider world. The development and application of an ETD metadata standards and the resulting quality, consistency, and interoperability of the metadata produced and exchanged has major implications for the discovery and long-term preservations of these theses and dissertations. The fourth goal is about linking us to the rest of the world, linking with international networks. And here I would like to mention three possibilities. The first is the database for African theses and dissertations data. The literature continuously makes the point that African research is rarely indexed in major databases, a problem that is further exacerbated by inaccessibility of theses and dissertations completed in the region. There is rich local empirical data in these theses and dissertations, which needs to be discoverable to the continental and international audiences. We are aware, and this is an acknowledgement, we are aware that the DATA project, the DATA project lacks impetus. This CHELSA project, we are hoping, will provide the necessary injection for the revival of the DATA project. The objectives of DATA are to advance the visibility, discoverability, and accessibility of Africa's theses and dissertations. I think it's important to note that the Association of African Universities is a champion of the DATA project. And South Africa is working very closely with the AAU over a number of other projects. So we will be taking this repository project and locating it within an African context and within other African projects. And by default, this would place CHELSA as a leader on the continent with regard to open access, and in specific, the repository segment of open access. The second option is the networked digital library of theses and dissertations, the NDLTD. This is an international organization dedicated to promoting the adoption, creation, use, dissemination, and preservation of electronic theses and dissertations. The push is for this project to seek national linkages as opposed to institutional linkages. Having a national repository makes it that much easier to link with the NDLTD. The third possibility is that of linking with organizations such as ProQuest. There has been approaches by organizations such as ProQuest to host repositories. CHELSA could offer such an organization mirroring rights at a cost which could be reinvested into the sustainability of the National Repository Project. The larger project team, I'm just moving over now to how the project is unfolding. And we're unfolding in terms of project teams that had, and this project team had a few meetings over the last year. And I think Anka has alluded to that when reading out Shalene's message. And these meetings were convened before and after affirmation by CHELSA. So for all intents and purposes, CHELSA has endorsed this particular project. The larger project team has been broken down into task teams to support the 4 strategic goals. I will take you through the purpose of the task teams and share the objectives and the proposed actions or tasks that will ultimately culminate in the development and rollout of a national repository. The concept document outlines the different models, which I am not going to address now at this session. The larger project team is working on the premise that there will be a transition process, and the different elements within the transition process are covered in the concept document. The first task team is that of the survey task team. Just very briefly, this particular task team, the need for this arose in terms of the investigation to support the decision of CHELSA. The the purpose of this particular task team is to review the current repository landscape and provide intelligence to build on good practice, address challenges, and incorporate new trends. The objectives are to identify current infrastructure configurations, software and such as adopted by the different respondents. Also to identify metadata required for improved visibility and discoverability, and to identify skills requirement to sustain the repository. The tasks of the task team are basically to amend the survey instrument. People may remember that the instrument was administered previously. We now are amending that particular instrument, and that would be re-administered post this particular session. The task team will also collect the data, analyze the data, and provide feedback and guidance to the oversight committee. The second task team is that of the infrastructure task team, and the purpose here is to provide technical advice and guidance in the development of an infrastructure for the hosting of a national repository. The objectives are to determine the infrastructure requirements of the various repository alternatives, to identify the support or maintenance requirements, to identify personnel requirements, to identify funding requirements, to identify potential hosting providers. So those are the objectives of the infrastructure task team. The tasks are basically clustered into two. The first is to provide on existing national repository systems, and that would include storage, discovery options, front-end discovery options, back-end repository software, API integration, federated login options, systems administration requirements, and cost implications. The second cluster is to provide on hosting alternatives, and that includes cost and access. The third task team is the metadata task team. And the purpose of the metadata task team is to develop capacity, resources, and frameworks. And I think that is the significant component here. Frameworks for the improved visibility and discoverability of South African theses and dissertations. Sorry, I said these, it should actually be a theses and dissertations, not these dissertations. Okay, I apologize for that. The objective is to develop a set of standards for implementation across the country, and to identify gaps in the training and importantly, develop programs to address the gaps. The task is basically to develop a national metadata standards framework and to host training sessions to fill the skills void. The last task team is the skills development task team. The skills development task team is split into two. The first is dealing with the IT issues and the continuous upskilling of IT staff who may be resident in the library or may be located within the institution's central IT departments. Engagements with larger networks such as Ubuntu Alliance or Tenet will be preferred as technology experts to support, amongst others, continental network challenges. The second is library repository managers or staff
I lost you, Reggie.
Reggie, we've lost you.
I think it's the network problem, Anke.
Yes, I think so. I will send him a message.
Okay. Apologies, colleagues. Are we still together, colleagues?
Chair, I think it might just be Reggie who has been cut off. I'm hoping the rest of the members are still here.
Okay. We are going to try and reconnect him, colleagues. Just be a little bit patient. Okay, thank you. No colleagues are still around. Are we winning, Anke?
Chair, he's not. I have sent him an invitation, a meeting invitation link again, and I have sent him a WhatsApp message. I'm hoping he will be joining.
Yes.
I'm not sure if there's anybody else from the group who is online who could perhaps engage further while we wait. I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
Yes.
I am. It's Segrin here. I'm just checking if Jill has also been kicked out. Jill, are you here?
No, I don't see Jill either. And I know that they were load shedding at UCT. So I don't know if it's perhaps that, if that is perhaps the issue.
Okay, let's just give them a minute or so. If not, I can carry on with the presentation.
Thank you, Sagran. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
There, he's joined. There we go.
Welcome back, Reggie.
Yeah, these are the beauties of load shedding.
Yes.
Testing one's patience and whatever else it goes. Okay. Let me get back to the PowerPoint presentation. Hi. Yeah, so again, colleagues, I apologize. As I said, we blame everything now on Eskom and load shedding. So unfortunately, the Eskom and load shedding would have to also take blame for this one. Yeah, just to say that, as I said, the skills development is split into two, looking after the IT skills, and then also then looking after the library repository management or the staff that are in repositories, upskilling them to keep pace with the changing world of repositories. Okay, it's important for this task team to develop a program that will level the playing to ensure that the skills development program are commensurate with the growth of repositories. The objectives of the task team is to do a deep analysis of the survey results, develop categories for the development of interventions, identify persons or collaborators for the delivery of training, develop a skills development plan, and probe accreditation. Maybe this will be a long shot, but probe accreditation for training, and then to engage with organizations that will provide those training sessions. These are the members of the different task teams. You have, as I said, the infrastructure task team that is being headed by Sean Cash from DUT. The survey task team is being convened by Mark. The metadata task team at this point in time, we've got down Baynard as the convener. And then Lazarus is the convener for the skills development task team. We have developed an action plan, and I hope this works. This is the action plan. So we have the objectives of the task teams. We have the deliverables. We have the timelines. Unfortunately, the timelines are a little bit skewed at this point in time because we waited for this particular meeting to administer the instrument, and post this meeting, the instrument will be administered, and we could then work through there. So those are the timelines, the responsible persons. Some of the requirements we looked at is in terms of the platform that will be used, the software, and then we're hoping then to get sufficient enough support from the CHELSA. So yeah. Hi, sorry, okay, can you see the screen again?
Yes, we can. Thanks, Rachel.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I just made the assumption that you could see my screen, but Jules pointed out to me that she couldn't see it, so which means that you couldn't see it. So this is the action plan that we've put together. So that is the infrastructure action plan, looking at all of the objectives, the tasks, and the outcomes. Okay, and the same with the skills development and the metadata task team. Chair, I'm going to stop there. If there are any questions, yeah.
Thank you very much, Doc, for this informative and comprehensive piece of presentation that has been put in front of us, colleagues. I'm not even sure where to start. It's really, overwhelming, and it's amazing how far the group has gone to depths and lengths of working with the national ETD project. Colleagues, maybe first and foremost, let's take some questions for clarity from Reggie, if there are any questions or comments or observations.
Or volunteers?
Or volunteers. It looks like, Reggie, everything is in place, and I doubt if there will be any volunteers, but let me leave it to the floor. Maybe, okay, there's a hand from Anke. Maybe one thing I thought I would ask Reggie is whether the concept document was uploaded on the CHELSA website. And I'm not sure if colleagues are aware, because it's quite a comprehensive concept there, where I think if people have got questions, some of the questions are addressed in that concept document. Anke, you are on the floor. You can also help us with that question.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to pick up on Reggie's point about the volunteers, and I think that was also the purpose of one of the reasons for this information session, is that since the original call for volunteers to serve on the task teams, some time had passed and so on, and obviously people come and go within institutions, and their responsibilities change. So just then I think, Reggie, on your behalf, just to say that there is always the opportunity for members to join the task teams. And then, Chair, I can check quickly if the concept document is on the website. I don't recall now at this point, and if it isn't, I will make sure that it is uploaded immediately. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anke. Thank you, colleagues. Any questions for clarity or comments? I think that concept document will enrich our understanding. So if it is uploaded, I didn't say it though, but I think once it's uploaded, then everybody can log into the CHELSA website. Okay, the question is, where do we send the names for volunteering? Okay, that's a question from Zine. Thank you, Zine. Reggie, there's a question here about volunteers. Maybe before we address that, are the tasks teams still working well, or do you need any additional volunteers? I know we will need volunteers, but are the task team as intact as they were when they were formed, or there are people who have left and all that?
Look, there are people that have left the task teams. We have such rich knowledge at this particular session. It'll be great for colleagues to volunteer and this add that level of knowledge to the different task teams. My suggestion is that you send those names to Anka. Anka has been brilliant in terms of supporting us, and then she would then ensure that they are allocated into a specific task team. Yeah, to answer the first question, forward them to Anka, and then she will manage that particular process.
Thank you so much, Reggie. I'm looking for hands, colleagues. The goals of the project have been outlined very well. The concept document is there, which will be uploaded. Even the action plans are in place. The time frames, Reggie, I didn't really, I must have missed the time frames for those action plans. Is there any report that could be ready or from the action plans, or am I jumping the horse?
I think at this point in time, it's a little bit premature. Okay. The first task team was that of the survey task team, and we waited for this meeting before we administered re-administered the survey.
Lost you now, Reggie.
Sorry, I lost. Am I not audible?
Reggie, you are audible. It might just be Wetu who is losing the connectivity. I can see you and hear you.
Okay. Yeah.
My internet was a bit. You were saying, you said the first task team was the survey task team.
Yes, sorry, I was saying that the first task is the survey task team, and they are now re-administering the survey because we did a lot of tweaks to it based on our goals and our objectives. So we waited for today's meeting, and as of Monday, we will administer the questionnaire, the instrument. And I'm hoping that the colleagues in this session would help to complete the instrument so that we have enough data that will help us then to reaffirm the action plan.
Thank you so much, Reggie. That's a call and a plea, colleagues, to participate when the instrument has been administered. And that's part of the way forward. Thank you so much, Reggie. Any other questions, colleagues? I don't see any hand. It looks like this project is doing very well. I think the next OGM, at the next OGM of CHELSA, the terms of reference will be tabled for each of the task teams. And yes, and I think we'll also take it from there as CHELSA. I'm trying to wind here, colleagues. We have been allowed to send names of volunteers to Anke. The task teams have been outlined here and what they do. We will be looking at the terms of reference shortly on the 3rd, and we will be making our input as well. I wonder if I've left out anything here, Reggie. Jill?
You've covered all of the issues, Beatrice. Thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Reggie. Jill, anything? Sakran, anything?
Jill is saying no.
No, not from my side.
Thank you. Colleagues, if there is no hand, let us now take this opportunity to thank Dr. Raju for sharing his insights and the team at large that was working on this project, thanking Dr. Nierputh in her absence, and thanking Jill and Sakren and everybody else, the task teams, which I think the bulk of the work is still on them. And we want to say, as CHELSA, we are standing behind you and we will give you all the necessary support. I think we've come to the end now of the session. The session was recorded, and if need be, it will be made accessible. Any last word from the teams? Thanks, Reggie.
Thank you, Chair.
I don't see any other hand here, colleagues. And then let's call it a day. Thank you very much for being so cooperative. And thank you to the other colleagues who are not members of CHELSA for sharing their insights. And I think we are learning from each other. And yeah, all the best, colleagues, with the hard work. We all need each other for this continent. And with those few words, I can say I'm concluding and closing the session.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you.
Thank you, too. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, colleagues.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.